impromptu live based on a few questions we've received in the last 24 hours pertaining to forgiveness, business closures, ERC, major announcement for the natural disaster program.
Let me just kind of set the stage for all of you. We went out this afternoon. We had a really nice lunch at a place we've never been to before. And ostensibly, it was a business meeting. Yeah, I know. You're all thinking, but wait a minute. You guys live together. You work together. Don't you have business meetings like on the couch?
Yeah.
But we went out to lunch. I had a meatball hero. She had the meatball flatbread. It was delicious.
It was a meatball kind of day.
And we talked about a lot of stuff about our business, consulting the services we're offering, our YouTube channels, and so on. And we came home, and after being stuffed with those meatball niceties, we didn't think we wanted dinner, but suddenly I felt like time to make dinner. So I grilled a couple of burgers, put some salad together. We ate dinner, and then I insisted that we go for a walk.
I was
to walk off the meatball heroes.
Michael appreciates this because he's got his own show about weight loss.
This one says,
fitness.
Nah, I'm not feeling it. It's too humid out.
Yeah.
We're in New England. It's not that humid. So I said, go out on the back deck, check it out. All of a sudden I hear her say, oh, it's really nice. So we went for a walk down our little country lane here. And not 200 yards from the house, this one says, oh, we just got an email from a former client about the SBA announcement, and does that apply to her situation to get a reconsideration on her COVID-19 EIDL? And I ripped out a little bit of my hair, and the program is closed, so no, it doesn't. But then this one said, why don't we go live and talk about this? So, here we are.
Yeah, also because we do get on a regular basis that someone is closing their business, they've closed their business, and there's no business anymore, but there is a loan to the tune of, some of these loans are between 25 and 100,000.
Some of them are 2 million.
Well, yes, there's, hundreds of thousands, but some of the smaller loans, people have reached out, and I think
there's all kinds of landscape stuff about this COVID-19 EIDL we're going to cover tonight. We have a whole bunch of different topics we're going to talk about, and so thanks for joining us. And let's start with SBA's major announcement. Now, if you tuned into our last live show, we talked about SBA and Washington, D.C. and the COVID-19 EIDL program, and how a lot of you folks out there want to ask the government to forgive the COVID-19 EIDL that you got. The way they helped out the big banks back in, 2010, 11, 12, and on and on and on, and how apparently they're still helping out the big banks, but they're not helping out you folks. So a lot of people ask us frequently and often about forgiveness. We did a show about that. If you subscribe to the channel, click the bell, you will see our playlists and the amazing video editing this one does too. This one is Linda Ray, by the way. I'm that one. She's this one, and I'm that one. And so we talked about forgiveness, and we talked about how SBA and Washington and the Congress and the Senate is focusing on fraud.
Yes.
And by the way, folks, they're still focusing on fraud. But we want to kind of take that discussion in a different direction today. So let's talk about the first thing on our topic list of topics is the SBA's major announcement from July 31st. If you want to bring up the screenshot of that announcement.
Yes, we have.
And we'll put the link to the SBA website so you can read the announcement yourself. SBA announces major changes to its disaster lending program. Okay. I'm going to go through the changes and the things that we think are relevant and important for small business owners and homeowners and renters who are affected by natural disasters. We just had some major storms this week. Tennessee, there were pictures from Tennessee that were terrible. Mm-hmm. Hawaii, 6 people, or may have been 8 people died this afternoon because of wildfires and the hurricane that came through. So it's tough times, and this program is designed to help homeowners, renters, and small business owners. So this major change is to the natural disaster program. And before I go into the points, I just want to talk about, once again, instead of addressing the elephant in the room. Wait.
There was a giraffe, but his head broke. If you watch our show from last week, there's a giraffe in the background. He's not there anymore because it tipped over and he's now beheaded. But yeah.
Okay.
We haven't had props in a while.
We literally
on
have
our show.
an elephant in the room.
Oh my God. All right.
So let's address the elephant in the room, SBA. I want you all to know when you call SBA, their customer service has improved dramatically. What has not changed is the complete dysfunction of misinformation.
Yes.
I was on the phone with one rep yesterday who would not give me a straight answer as to why the applicant's natural disaster loan was declined, and just it was a lot of oblique bureau speak. So they haven't learned those lessons. But here's the elephant.
Rhymes.
The elephant in the room is this. The COVID-19 EIDL program, $390 billion, 4 million loans. Many business owners are still struggling, trying to figure out how to make payments, want further deferments. Businesses have failed already or are soon to fail. And those folks want forgiveness or at least some kind of remediation. And all SBA wants to talk about is their major changes to the disaster loan program. Just like we talked about on our last program, where all they want to talk about is fraud. They're focusing on fraud. And what's it, like 590 convictions?
572.
Michael, what was the percentage? It was 0.000125 or something of percentage.
I remember 00 and 23, but I don't know if it's 00023.
So on our last show, we talked about that. Instead of forgiveness, they're talking about fraud. And today, ignoring the elephant in the room, they're talking about the changes to the natural disaster program. So we're going to go through those changes.
Smoke and mirror thing? Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, I just wish Michael, that's it. 0.000125%. Conviction rate on fraudulent loans, all of them, PPP, EIDL, shuttered venue, restaurant, all of that. All right. Lynn, if you could bring up the key points screenshot.
Oh, you mean the thing that's going to be like, boom.
There we go.
Big.
So again, we have the link in the description so you can click through, you can read this for yourself. But where does this assist you and affect you and impact you? First of all, the good news is the loan limits have been increased to $500,000 for real estate repair or replacement, contractor malfeasance, refinancing and mitigation for home disaster loans. This does not affect small business owners. This is for people who either own their home or rent a home or an apartment that is in a declared disaster area, and the kind of assistance they can get through FEMA/SBA and the Natural Disaster Loan Program. So the loan limits were increased, but also the increase of loan limits for personal property has been increased to $100,000 for replacement of clothing, furniture, appliances, automobiles, and more for home disaster loans. So this is really great for the folks who are living in natural disaster declared areas and who are impacted. So
I need
great
to
news
interrupt
for them.
Since on our community tab, I try to grab some of the breaking news types of disasters. If I go like that, you can see me. I hate talking behind this banner, but we put up the natural disaster alerts when the loans are available, or if there's some kind of update or a deadline. And there are so many areas that just a lot of states that get hit. Missouri had recently a lot, 10 counties here, 14 counties there. Anyway.
You can take that down.
Oh,
Thanks.
I can?
Yes, thank you. So.
Oh, okay.
The Natural Disaster Financing Program.
All of that where I could have been without it. Okay.
Julian says that we're precious. Right now, I'm thinking maybe you're not as precious as I am after that remark.
I'm always precious.
It's true. She is always precious, Julian. And we wish you were our neighbor, too.
Okay.
Especially we wish you were the neighbor over here behind us, because their landscaper shows up every Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock at dinner time. So we can't sit on our back deck. So Julian, can you buy that house? I don't think I'm supposed to say this, but
it's going to get out because it is public, but one of our neighbors.
No, don't do it.
Why? It's so cute.
Oh, cute. Okay.
Elaine, her house, somebody took a photo, just like, I guess they were driving by and they took a photo, and it is now available as a puzzle. And it's her house. We could walk to her house. Anyway.
I did not know that. Elaine's house?
Yes. Oh, that's right. You weren't included on that text chain. Sorry, you do not rank.
So natural disaster loans, but here is the two issues that I think are very important. If you could pull up screenshot number one. Key point number one, please.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we just talked about. Increased loan limits for primary residences to $500,000. Increased loan limits for personal property. Now, if you can go to the next screenshot, please.
Next screenshot is,
All right. This is the big news for natural disaster. If SBA learned anything from the COVID-19 pandemic and the EIDL program, this is it right here. They've increased the initial payment deferral period to 12 months. So if you are approved for a natural disaster loan and you get your funding, you sign your closing documents today, your first payment is not due until 12 months from today. And on top of that, they're waiving the interest. Now, if you have followed us and seen our other videos, or if you've purchased our post-closing blueprint, where I go extensively into this concept, there was a 30-month deferment period for the COVID-19 EIDL program, which everybody loved. But what everybody didn't realize, because SBA didn't really talk about it a lot, is that all those loans, the interest was running like a taxi meter. So that 30-year loan that you got during the pandemic, a COVID-19 EIDL, is actually a 32 and a half year loan, because it comes to the end of the 30-year period, you're going to have a balloon payment for that interest that you didn't pay for the 30 months. Where this big change is so important and so excellent for small business owners, eligible nonprofit organizations, homeowners, and renters in disaster areas who get an SBA natural disaster loan, is that not only are the payments waived for the first 12 months, but the interest is waived. So the clock is not running on the interest on the 30-year loan. So it's a real 30-year.
Here's a question for you. If that's made its way through the cobwebs of bureaucracy, is it possible that they could do something for the interest that's already happened for the 30 months? Is there hope, which is why the thumbnail has had hope or horror?
Yeah, we're going to get to the hope and horror later on. That's further down the list.
Yeah, because
okay.
I'm thinking.
Let me wrap this up. Because I want to get past the natural disaster so we can talk about our COVID-19 EIDL audience, the things that they care about. All right.
Okay.
The CARES Act stuff that they care about, ERC, PPP, and $9 billion and forgiveness.
I need to do one quick update. Thank you for not having a face, because I did do a video. It's a short, and with natural disasters, since we're still on that topic, officially, evidently, automatically, there's a 60-day delay of filing your IRS taxes when there is
if you're in a declared disaster
If you're in a declared disaster zone.
Thanks. That was really awesome. You brought that up.
Thank you. If you're in a declared disaster zone and minimum is 60 days, it could be longer. The video, again, it's in the shorts. It might be in a playlist for natural disasters, but there are links in that video on how you can find out by state, by date.
Or you could call the IRS, who has dramatically improved their phone answering. And where actually, when you call the IRS, you can actually get a straight answer to your question from the person you call at the IRS, as opposed to the SBA. And we're going to come to that later. That's the one thing SBA did not learn.
We will not be talking about music tonight, Michael, but I do appreciate your support and enthusiasm.
Okay. If you want to pull up the next screenshot, I think it's number 3.
Number 3. Boom.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Here's a big change. They've changed business collateral, the collateral requirement for SBA natural disaster loans for business assets. Now, I read this thing. I prepared this stuff for the show. We came back from our walk in the country. And thank you, Jason. You too. Wishing you the best. I came back and I put this script together in about 8 minutes. No, can you put it back up, please? I'm sorry.
I was admiring Jason's comment. Whoops. Whoops. What was it, number 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this sentence, I'm going to read it. And Michael is a professional writer. Maybe he can, either through his own intellect or maybe he uses some AI to translate what the hell this means. SBA is clarifying collateral requirements in the disaster loan program under which blanket liens on business assets that provide no liquidity in the event of default will not be required. Okay. I kind of understand that. They're basically saying it's going to be similar to SBA disaster loans less than $25,000 by my interpretation, which seems that if your SBA disaster loan is less than $25,000, there's no collateral, there's no lien against your business. If you borrow $25,001 or more, then there will be a lien from the SBA against assets. And the assets of the business, where there's equipment, accounts receivable, other features, cash accounts, et cetera, these become assets of the business that SBA can, dispose of in the event of a defaulted loan to recoup its money.
I have a question, and you can tell me if this is not applicable in any way, shape, or form, but we actually failed to discuss at length last week about collateral and personal guarantee.
I'm writing that down because I want to go back to this, please.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I know it's important I finish this.
You want to finish it? Because I'm not going to remember. Let me write it down.
I just wrote it down. Okay.
No, that's not my question. But
I understand. I wrote down collateral.
No, that's not my question. Inability to repay.
Okay, this is us having an argument, by the way. I just wrote it down. See where it says right there? It says collateral question mark.
That wasn't my question.
So that I will remember later on. You see how I've crossed off the other things on the script?
Yes. Okay. Go ahead, because it was actually
This is why I love her so much, because we get into these tit for tat things.
All right, go.
Sometimes, it gets pretty nasty, but it's over quicker than that. Okay. All right. So, Michael agrees with me. There is a better way to word that. And that's just the first sentence.
Well, Michael's a writer. He's a wordsmith.
He's a wordsmith. So Michael is confused. I'm a loan officer, 30 years plus the 3 years of COVID hell that I assisted people with doing those COVID applications and so forth. And I don't understand. I need it back on the screen.
I know, but...
Stop. I need it back on the screen. Okay, thank you. Okay, so... what does this mean? It means that they're removing the asset requirement? I don't know. But here's the thing, Michael, see if you agree with me. The second sentence makes it even more confusing.
Yes.
Here's the second sentence. This gives SBA more discretion to determine the collateral required for disaster loans. What?
That's what
the hell does that mean?
That's what I wanted to ask you. I don't want to open a Pandora's box, but I feel
I think they did it for you.
That this is going to, they're already so screwed up with their underwriting and how they underwrite. I can't even imagine if they have that as a gray, ambiguous provision. No one's going to get approved because
no one gets approved.
Right.
By the way, just so you know, the numbers of natural disaster approvals, dollar for dollar, compared to the damage that happens and the applications that are submitted is horribly low.
Yeah.
Terribly low relative to the number of applications. And I'm going to come to that. That's because look, you see right here, look, you see? Let's see, what's that word? What's that word?
Reconsideration.
Yeah, because that's coming up after collateral.
All right, here we go.
So this statement about collateral is confusing. And Linda's right. Does SBA even know what this means? Okay?
Right.
I'm sorry, can you put it back up? Next. Here's the next thing. Reduced documents required for requesting a reconsideration. It removes the requirement that a business submit financial statements with every reconsideration or appeal request for a previously declined natural disaster application. Currently, the SBA requires you to submit current financial statements. That means a profit and loss statement, cash balance sheet, and so on and so forth. Even if your application was not declined for lack of repayment ability, if it was declined for credit, or program ineligibility, that's a new one we're seeing. You still have to submit financial statements, and that can be a pain in the ass because not everybody does profit and loss statements up to date, and bigger companies have to hire their CPA to do it, right?
Right.
So this is a good thing. You can take the banner away now.
Okay.
But it leads to a very important discussion about how the natural disaster application works. When you are in a disaster area, the declaration has to happen, whether it's the governor, the SBA, the Department of Agriculture, or the president. The president being the highest status level of disaster declaration. And this allows the government to come in and start assisting people through FEMA, through other programs, and through the natural disaster, SBA natural disaster program. Here's the basics on that. We've done other videos on it. We have a free download on it, which you can find on our website, auroraconsulting.biz, and Linda will put that in the link, the link in the description. But
in the comments,
you submit your application, and just so you know, we always urge you to submit your application. Paper.
Yeah.
Do not use the SBA's portal,
Which is very
to submit a natural disaster application. The SBA wants you to do it that way. If you do it that way, your chances of failure of being declined increase exponentially because the website does not recognize the difference for many different business organization types, especially if you are an LLC and you file the income for your business on your Schedule C of your personal tax return, which means you're going to apply for the loan as the LLC because it's a limited liability corporation and you want to take the loan out in the name of the business, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you for agreeing. She's amazing.
I didn't know you needed
She's amazing.
reassurance.
Sometimes I need validation.
Do you?
I'm a needy individual.
Oh my God.
But secondly, once you get to the screen on the application that requires the IRS 4506 form, the 4506 is automatically generated by the SBA website in the name of the LLC. Even though you file your tax return,
individual,
the income in your personal tax return, which means your loan will automatically be declined. And it gets declined. Their standards of underwriting is once the applicant has met what they call full document submission, that means all documents have been requested through the portal or through email or through a phone call from the SBA or a combination of those. Once the applicant has submitted all those documents, the loan specialist at the SBA has 30 days to adjudicate the file, approve or decline. And if the IRS tax transcript comes back incorrectly, which in the case of an LLC with filing on Schedule C income, it's going to be incorrect. Automatic declination, they are not allowed to order a new set of transcripts. Believe me, I have tried because the scenario I'm describing to you happened to me with a Hurricane Ian client last autumn. We put the application in, and that's how the client files Schedule C for an LLC business. And I submitted my own I called customer service. She said, "Oh, we'll just email it in." So I did. And then the loan officer calls and she said, "Well, we got the wrong transcript and we can't order a new one. I have to decline the loan." The madness, the dysfunction.
Oh, we're making a GIF out of this. Right over here. It's just priceless. Okay. All right. So I know we're talking
30 days to adjudicate the file, which means because the denial rate, the declination rate is so high, most homeowners, renters, and small business owners who apply for natural disaster assistance will have to request a reconsideration. So what's the timeline for reconsideration, Linda Ray? Go ahead, tell them, because you know what it is.
The timeline for reconsideration? You mean the 6 months
Yes.
from the original From the original, from the declination date.
Bingo. Okay.
Okay. But wait.
Hold on.
Wait. Is that applause?
I don't know what that is. I forgot. It's been so long since we've used these.
Since we've used our little
there we go.
mixing board.
That's applause. That's applause.
I don't think they can hear us when that thing is on. I don't know. That's so strange
All right.
to me. Okay. Anyway.
Once the SBA denies your loan, they send you a letter that says you've been denied. The reasons they give you are vague. I don't understand them. Michael won't understand them. I just spoke to the SBA on yesterday morning, and the rep I spoke to, she didn't understand the reason. And the second rep that I called later in the day, she also did not understand the reason. Okay.
Yeah.
But the declination letter comes, and it says, if you believe that this is an erroneous declination, you can request a reconsideration of your application, which in plain English means reapply. Mm-hmm. And you have 6 months from the date of the letter. Be mindful of that date, because we had a woman reach out to us a few weeks ago wanting our assistance. She put in her reconsideration request 2 days after the 6 month date.
Did she say why she was late for 2 days?
I don't know. It was a YouTube comment that we addressed.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you got 6 months from today. By the way, I spoke to an SBA rep yesterday who told me that the clock starts running in reconsideration when? Tell them.
Oh, yeah. It was 6 months. 6 months from the date of application, right? Okay, cut it out. You're making me, you're getting turn it red here. Oh my God. Yeah, 6 months from the date of the application, right? The original.
That's what she said.
Application.
It's wrong. It's 6 months from the date of the declination letter. And
but what's
I
the
like
30?
Julian Griffin's response here. Hold on, let me put that up.
Oh yeah.
When you're on the portal putting your application in, they that's the other thing. They got all kinds of bizarro security protocols. And as Julian points out, they think you're in Bora Bora submitting the application, which means they think it's fraud, and it'll get flagged as fraud. All right, and that flag stays with you a long time. Okay, so you got 6 months. Once in the third phase, so first phase is application, documents submitted, you got 30 days to adjudicate, approve, or decline the file. If the file is declined, you have 6 months to request reconsideration from that date. If the file is declined again from reconsideration, then you have 30 days to request an appeal, which supposedly goes to the highest level at SBA with a senior loan officer who really knows their stuff. Okay. Don't bet on it, by the way. Don't put any money on that bet, because you will lose massively. As we learned yesterday with a young man in California whose business is down 70% because of natural disaster in California, and the SBA appeal reconsideration, they're giving him the total runaround. All right.
Okay.
Couple of things real quick. Because you're most likely to get declined and you're going to request a reconsideration, you should know two things about her and me, Aurora Consulting. We do consulting for natural disaster applications, but really reconsiderations, because then you get the loan officer brain that I've got, and I rip the file to pieces. I look for everything that could be a reason for SBA to decline the loan, including trying to suss out why your loan was declined in the first place, which very often is tax transcripts, but it could be something else, a data entry mistake, submitting the wrong form, submitting the wrong 4506 form, not just incorrectly filling it out, but literally the wrong form, because it doesn't say the SBA's address on that line. So we're available to do that, and we charge a fee for it. You can learn more about it on our website. We also have our roadmap to reconsideration, which we created for COVID, which you are always welcome to purchase, and you can use that for a natural disaster, even though there's a lot of information about the COVID program. And we're updating that soon so that that'll be relevant. But know that you're going to need professionals like us if you want to be approved.
Well, I mean, just yesterday, Monday.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
Yeah, no. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Yes on the no and no on the yes. We got an email from somebody who has to remove a partner from the business that was a co-signer on the EIDL loan. And he's like, how do you do it? I mean, these are things that are going to come up.
Well, these are things that we address in our post-closing blueprint, and the link to purchase that is in the description.
Yeah. So,
and you can also hire us for a 1-hour phone consultation. I did 2 of those yesterday. One was for a declined natural disaster loan in California. The other one was for a business in Texas that missed the deadline to submit an application for a natural disaster, and we were wondering if he could still submit. And the good news was, yes, he can submit. So in both those instances, in the it's a paid phone call. You pay us for the 1 hour. You get me on the phone. I listen to your story and I try to analyze it. And often I will pick up the phone with you on the line and call the SBA to get an answer, because I know how to speak to the SBA and ask the questions that a lot of folks may not know how to do that.
All right, what's on the agenda?
Okay. Well, I want to go back to collateral, which is there because you made me write it down.
So all the people that left for our little promo, they're going to miss on the collateral because we get questions about that too. And
I'm not sure what it is you want me to talk about, but fire away.
Well, I thought, just even like the question, we had that comment today about not having, there's no collateral. The loan was under 200,000.
It was 50,000.
But I thought there was also a client who was like, where you had to explain to him, it's not what you think it is, with them coming, after and seizing personal assets.
Okay. So during the pandemic, there was a lot of confusion, mostly on Reddit with the Hot Pocket Bros, talking about personal guarantee. And because of the confusion, which we tried to straighten out here on our channel time and again, but people just didn't listen to us because I don't look like a Hot Pocket Bro. Neither does she.
All right, anywho.
Thank you, Michael. You're funny. The confusion at the time was, so SBA said if your loan amount for the COVID-19 EIDL was $200,000, $1 and up above that, there would be a personal guarantee from the owner or owners of the business in the event that the loan defaults. And so everybody out there in the wide world of the internet, the idiots, were telling people, don't take more than $200,000 so you don't have a personal guarantee. Okay. First of all, personal guarantee is not what you think it is. Let me tell you what a personal guarantee is. It is, you own a business and the loan defaults, and the business assets are sold. They're either auctioned off, or you sell them, or the SBA seizes them and sell them, whatever. The assets, equipment, furniture, fixtures, accounts receivable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like a house. The house goes into foreclosure, the house gets sold at auction. And the business assets, the sale of the assets, produces a dollar amount that the SBA uses to repay the loan balance. But what if the amount of money from selling the assets doesn't cover the remaining loan balance? Well, then, under a personal guarantee scenario, the SBA has the right. Doesn't mean they will do it. It means they have the right to go to court and get what's called a deficiency judgment against the owner or owners of the business and say to them, listen, we loaned you $350,000. We sold the assets on your defaulted loan, and we got $250,000. So you guys and gals owe us $100,000. How are you going to pay that? And in the event the business owner just ignores it, disappears, doesn't have the ability to pay it, then the SBA has the right to go to court, get a deficiency judgment, and put liens against
personal assets.
Home,
to repay the loan,
cash accounts, retirement accounts, garnish salaries, affects federal benefits you or your business may receive or may be receiving, including, but not limited to, Social Security payments. and all of that. And guess who the collection agent is going to be? Go ahead, tell 'em.
Not SBA. No. The IRS.
Which means also tax refunds would be garnished.
They're going to get you like somehow, some way, because you deal with the IRS all the time, every year.
So it's a federal obligation. But here's the thing that people mistake and mistook during the pandemic that I kept telling them. So let me get this right. You're eligible for $500,000, but you're only going to take $200 because you're terrified of a personal guarantee. Listen, man, if it gets to a situation where you're worried about your personal guarantee on a defaulted loan, you've got bigger problems than the SBA coming and the IRS coming after you. You have much bigger problems because you got bankruptcy on the horizon and all kinds of other creditors and things knocking down your door. People just didn't listen to me. Okay, and they were foregoing extra hundreds of thousands of dollars because of this terror over the personal guarantee. But here's the really scary thing that we have learned in the last 7 or 8 months in interactions with the SBA for clients who have hired us to manage different aspects, natural disaster loan applications and financing, COVID-19, EIDL, multiple different, very different scenarios, sale of collateral, changing business ownership, things like that. The SBA is changing the rules behind the scenes.
It hasn't been announced yet, right?
Dina, I'm going to come to your question in just Dino. I'm sorry, my glasses aren't that great. Dino Tekdemir. I'm going to answer your question in just a moment. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for asking that question. And folks, if you have questions, we're live for a reason, so please do. Just we ask one thing about the questions is try to be very specific. Dino's question is excellent because it's what about if you filed bankruptcy? But I'd like a little more background on that. What does that mean you filed bankruptcy? Does that mean you want to know if you're eligible for a disaster loan or if you've got a COVID-19 loan and you
or like you can't
Michael,
pay,
Michael, don't even go there, buddy. Don't even go there, pal. All right, don't even go there, pal.
He already did it with emojis.
Okay.
Yeah, because
so Dino, I'm going to come back to you, but let's. So the SBA is changing the rules in the case of a business that was selling the assets. We've talked about this on some of our videos before. The SBA rep told me on the phone that, I said to her, but this is not in the loan agreement. You show me in the loan agreement. She said, well, it's on the form that your client filled out when he requested the release for the collateral. I said, I've never heard of that in my life, that a form supersedes and contradicts and contravenes
a legal
contract, which is what a loan agreement is. That's nuts. But this is what you can expect, folks. And so to go back to Linda's concern and question about collateral and all of the rest of yours concern and question about personal guarantee, I had another loan specialist at SBA who told me, Trevor, she said, we're having meetings every week trying to figure out how to help people and get this whole situation with people who can't pay and how we're going to
potential defaults.
She said, even for loans less than $200,000, they're talking about assigning the debt to the IRS to collect it against the owner of the business.
Yeah. Which sounds like a personal guarantee, even if you didn't think you had one under 200,000. The thing that we're finding out is that this loan agreement is, it's kind of a working document. It's not quite set in stone.
Well, that's also the agreement. Literally, there were paragraphs in the loan agreement which literally contradict each other.
Right. And there's also no addendums to, it's 2023. People were signing these things in 2020, 2021, and the first...
And 2022.
And 2020. Well, you didn't let me finish. Up until, the first 5 months of 2022. And there's been no addendum or no announcement of them fixing little things because this loan agreement's been around. I mean, I don't know how many revisions there have been since 1950.
Well, that's not true. There actually have been amendments to the loan agreement that came out in the early days, things that modified the early COVID-19 EIDL loans in the spring and early summer and spring and summer and autumn of 2020, people got a letter in the mail telling them that the loan agreement had been amended to remove the collateral requirement for loans below $25,000. So there have been amendments, but not the ones that you would think that you would want, right?
One of the reasons why I don't mind going live and I'm not uncomfortable, not feeling 100% confident about this stuff is because, typically the way we've been going for almost 4 years about business loans in general and then COVID loans for 3 years is I wear a business owner hat. I have general business information and knowledge and concerns and issues and where I have made mistakes. But Trevor, as a loan officer, he has seen with government loans how things are. So I'm always learning as well, but I'm also not paying as close attention to some of the details with them. You're kicking me under the table?
Yeah, this is going on painfully long.
It's literally been under a minute of me talking about how if I'm concerned and confused about general practices,
these folks are going to be confused.
That's where I was getting before you interrupted
You're welcome.
me.
I got you to that point.
Okay.
See what I did there? Okay. Dino, I'm coming up with your question in just a moment. And thanks for making it more specific. So the SBA is changing the ground rules. This is so important for you all to understand and why we tell people purchase our post-closing blueprint, because number one is going to teach you to think the way I think. I teach you how to communicate with the SBA, how to prepare for communicating, interacting with the SBA before you contact them. Hold on. I see you chomping at the bit. So the post-closing blueprint covers all of this information, and we're giving free update. If you purchase it now, you're getting free updates as I learn more, as the SBA develops different processes and procedures through December of 2024. Okay? And go ahead. There you go.
Go ahead.
No, you want to interrupt me.
Well,
so I'm going to let you interrupt me.
I was going to say, we can do a sales pitch and promo all day long. It doesn't matter. If you don't buy it, you don't buy it. It's not going to completely impact our lives at all.
We don't know how else to tell you folks you need it.
This is what I do know. For 3 years, we saw business owners who were behind the 8 ball when they needed money, but they realized they didn't do this right, or they didn't know about this, or their CPA did that and they didn't know about blah, 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 blah. So business owners can either, on a general level, general practices, you can either prepare to be proactive, or you can at least try to have a network of resources when you have to be reactive, because the problem that you bet on not happening is now at your doorstep. That's all I wanted to say. Okay.
And while we currently offer consulting services, we're not going to be doing that forever. So it's a 30-year loan. So as Dino has experienced a situation of bankruptcy, can you pull up is that the second one?
This is the second explanation.
We address this, Dino, in our post-closing blueprint. And we can assist with working with the SBA to remediate this issue with you. But we're not going to be around forever, which is why we're trying to get people to buy the guidebook.
Yeah.
As a go-to reference before you take any action on your COVID-19 EIDL, such as Dino, to answer your question.
Yes.
So we're not attorneys, so we cannot give legal advice. But our understanding from our research is that a COVID-19 EIDL can be included in bankruptcy.
We're not attorneys.
So my question for you, Dino, is, did you say you can't pay it back and you filed a bankruptcy? Did your attorney include the COVID-19 EIDL? Please say yes. Please say yes.
Please say yes.
Please say yes. Please say yes. I hope you had a good attorney.
And I hope that was communication, because again, you as the loan officer, you kind of know when it comes to, we have a lot of people, what are the steps to, or what's the step by step? And the part of the answer is, there's a process, and between my insurance underwriting background, his mortgage loan underwriting with government loans, there's always a process. And the painful truth and honesty is, you don't know who you're going to get at the SBA, and you don't know how many people are involved in any one file and how many people actually are possessing inaccurate information and spreading that information to you, and that you don't know what's right, what's wrong, and do you, what next steps do you have to do? So anyway, what is this? What is, okay. What are you doing?
Okay.
All right.
So Dino hasn't responded yet. So here's the thing.
Okay.
In Dino's case, we don't know if he contacted the SBA before he filed the bankruptcy. We don't know. Hopefully we'll find out if his attorney included the COVID-19 EIDL in the bankruptcy. But here's our general advice, folks.
You can't see. It's white on white. It's the light on the white.
COVID-19 EIDL problem, number 1, refer to our guide.
Which means you have to actually.
Number 2, then contact
the SBA.
SBA.
Yeah.
Then number 3, take action.
Yeah.
And here's what people are doing that we're discovering by comments like Dino's and people who reach out to us for assistance and
or questions on things.
We get a lot of questions on our YouTube videos. People are acting before they're contacting the SBA. Or they've contacted the SBA, but they're getting confusing directions and advice from the SBA, which is why we created the guidebook, so you can sort that out.
Yeah.
For example, yesterday morning when I spoke to the SBA on this declined natural disaster loan, and she made the massively erroneous statement that the timeline for reconsideration, the clock started running on the date of the original application, which is wrong. I knew she was wrong, but you, the average small business owner, may not know that. In fact, the person on the phone with me who owns this business in California that was declined did not know that the clock started running the date the loan was declined, not the date of the original application. So he still had time. This is what the kind of insight that we provide in the guidebook. So if you have a problem where you cannot make your payments, or you want to change the ownership, or change your address, move your business physically, because there's changing a mailing address and then there's moving the business physically, okay, 2 different things. Reorganize your business. Maybe you're an LLC, you want to turn it into an S Corp, right? Any number of things that can put you in default under the terms of the loan agreement that you signed. Because I don't trust the SBA to not come after you later on because you did something that you shouldn't have done without checking with them first. Or that you did things like sold assets that you are not allowed to do at all. And there's simple things, or you didn't submit financial statements every year, which you're required to do. These things technically put you in default. So do you want to trust the government to not come after you? Because I wouldn't. The United States government has a long memory. Okay.
The other thing, too, if you think about the logic of the SBA or the lack thereof, this is an organization who, in conjunction and collaboration with another U.S. government agency, such as the IRS, they can't even get their act together to know the difference between an LLC with a Schedule C and filing a 4506 form, having no record found because they're not connecting the dots on the Social Security number.
As opposed to the EIN number.
As opposed to the EIN number. Or a sole prop that doesn't have an EIN number. So they just think that it's fraud and they flag your file and they'll decline it and not tell you why, kind of thing. So this is like, they're just going to come at you like, well, we
don't know if they're going to come after you, but I wouldn't leave that chance. So hold on, I want to answer Gregory Miller. So Gregory, these changes that were announced are only specific to the natural disaster loan program. Yeah. That means if your home, your apartment that you rent, or your business is located in a declared disaster area and you wish to get assistance from the SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program for physical damage, personal property loss if it's a home, economic injury if it's a business or a nonprofit, the natural disaster application loan program exists, and these changes are specific to that program.
We spent around 25 minutes on it. So
thank you.
You may want to, maybe you can put it on playback 1.75.
All right, John, hello. I received the EIDL loan. I was wondering, can I apply for another loan, either a microloan or express loan? You can, but again, right? Refer to our guide, contact the SBA, take action. Because I addressed this in detail in our guide, because what's going to happen, John, is that the SBA has a lien against the business if the loan is more than $25,000 that you received. And so SBA is in what we call first position. So any other loan is going to come in second position, and third position and fourth position. Think of it like a mortgage. You bought a house and you have a mortgage, which is called a first mortgage, and you get a home equity loan. That's a second mortgage, which means in the event of a default, first mortgage wins and gets all of the money at the sale of the house in a foreclosure, and the second mortgage holder is left with whatever pennies are remaining. And so because the SBA has this primary lien, John, that means you have to ask the SBA for what's called a subordination. And they have a process for it. And if you want to learn how to interact with them before you call them, purchase our guidebook. If you want to just fire away and roll the dice for a successful, because here's the thing. Well, the other reason we're saying the guidebook before you contact SBA, because as I explained a couple of times so far on the show about my interaction with the SBA just yesterday, you're going to get wrong information.
Yeah.
You're going to get misdirected. You're going to be poorly advised, and you're going to be given misinformation that is going to not properly or not even answer your question. You know, we have a longstanding motto here. What's the longstanding motto?
Always apply.
Well, that's the golden rule.
That's the golden rule.
That's Trevor's golden rule. That's my golden rule. No, the longstanding motto is if you have one question.
Oh, you're going to have seven people give 7 different answers.
I wish I had bought you a bottle of wine. No, if you have one question and you call 5 SBA agents, you will get 10 different answers.
Yes. Yeah. You know, he and I were talking on our walk before we were doing this show, and, you know, listen, we know price is an issue or is a consideration for a decision that is made. And we understand that. We run a business. We have a couple of different businesses, and I've been in business for a couple of decades. So I understand the difference between an expense and an investment. And this is the thing. If you think of any service that there's services you can't do alone. There's alone on your own. You know, there's some legal matters that you need an attorney to represent you. You need a doctor for, certain things. But there are things you can do alone. And that's the currency is time, your time, to manage the process. And the reason why this blueprint exists is because of the 3 years of talking to the SBA.
The blueprint is our guidebook.
The blueprint is the guidebook, and it is the post-closing blueprint of all things related to not only the loan agreement, but interactions we've had with SBA on real issues that have come up in the last 3 years and changes to businesses.
We include templates on how you can use those templates for letters or emails to communicate with the SBA. I teach you, there's a whole chapter on how to speak to an SBA agent. As crazy as that sounds, because people don't know how to speak to the SBA agent and get the answers they need.
Yeah.
So I teach you how to do that.
I hear him on the phone with the SBA all the time. I hear him being super friendly and deferring to their position of authority. And then I hear him talking as a veteran loan officer with respect to guide them because of some way that they are, off in the weeds on something. So,
okay.
Anywho, okay.
So, Julian, face fuchsia, tongue out, face fuchsia, tongue out, face fuchsia. Is that an AI thing? I don't know. What is that?
I don't know.
Okay. Cindy, my EIDL is in default. It is for
10,000.
I can't work
due
due to my health. I'm sorry to hear that. Really
Yeah.
sorry to hear that. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to prevent it going to the treasurer as I don't want my credit ruined. Any advice? Okay. Yes. The advice is contact the SBA. Because, and it's the same with Dino, who asked the question earlier about the bankruptcy. Again, if, as I wrote down here, if a problem comes up with the SBA, COVID-19 EIDL problem, refer to our guide, contact the SBA.
This is like Love Actually with the.
Cut to the SBA. It is, right? And then take action. In your case, Cindy, the loan amount, $10,000. Call your loan servicing center and speak to a loan servicing. You'll see in the menu, one of the menu options is if you're having difficulty making payments.
Yeah.
And get a loan officer on the phone
and document.
And they may ask you for document. Now, quick thing about document,
No, document the conversation for,
Oh, yes, but they may ask you for documentation regarding the issue that's causing you to not work. And I would caution you to be very careful about that, because when I was a mortgage banker, people had credit challenges, they would tell me their whole story about the medical issue, and I had to stop them and say, listen, I'm a loan officer for the bank. You're not required to tell me the details. There are privacy laws that protect your medical story, Cindy. So you don't have to share that whole story with the SBA representative, but certainly they might ask for some documentation. So you should be prepared for that. Cindy's asking Linda how she can get the guide.
Oh, yes. I have the.
It's right there.
I'll put
There's the link right there.
Yeah, but I'll put the link again. Cindy, even I know you're doing this to be proactive for your credit, and I absolutely applaud. When I hear people being proactive, it just warms my heart. But if anything does happen that regards credit, and to Trevor's point about HIPAA laws and stuff, we have 2 very super comprehensive videos on credit explanation letters. If it comes to don't
we have a guide that I wrote about credit?
That's a credit rebuild.
Well, that's
rebuilding credit.
Cindy, just because I want to go to Pamela, my new friend Pamela in Texas, and address her statement. Cindy, I'm going to say to you what I said to probably hundreds of people in my 30-year career in the mortgage business. If you're going through a serious financial hardship, whether it is medical, job loss, divorce, some severe family situation, natural disaster, whatever it is that causes or could potentially cause the credit to get damaged, accept it. Accept that it's going to happen. Don't try to overthink and anticipate and prevent. Accept that the credit is going to take a hit. It's the best way to walk into it bravely, into these situations. Because if you're worrying as you go through these challenges, these severe financial distresses, if you are worried, Cindy, and I say this to you and to so many people who suffer through financial disasters, you will do nothing to resolve the problem. All that's going to happen is you're going to lose a lot of sleep. And I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been through a severe financial hardship, and I'm telling you, it's not worth it. The credit's going to take the hit. Take it as a given. Here's the thing. It's only temporary.
Yeah.
Because once you get through this situation, you can then work on rebuilding your credit. And it is much easier to rebuild credit than you think it is. And frankly, if it's a medical issue, that's why bankruptcy was created. And bankruptcy is not a terrible thing.
Yeah. Also, just as a tip, since we're on this topic, if the time comes where anything does happen and people are calling you about credit repair, please do not hire any services.
Do not pay anybody to repair your credit.
Do not pay for credit repair. It is a myth.
It's a scam. It's not just a myth. It's a scam. It is a scam. They do all this bullshit that they can show you a report. Go, look, and it's only temporary. Because I've sat in the back of real estate offices. I've sat in the conference room in my banks with people, and I run their credit report, and I go, folks, I don't know why you're sitting here with me tonight. I can't lend you money to buy a house. your credit, it's a 523 credit score. What? That's not possible. We spent $3,000 for somebody to fix our credit.
Yeah.
They showed us the report. It's only temporary. It's all a scam. Credit repair, credit restoration is a scam. You can rebuild your credit on your own with sensible and patient methodologies. Cindy, thank you for tuning in. We really wish you all the very best.
Yes, we really, really do. And there are people in the comments who are supporting you as well. So
Pamela, my new friend, I sent you a text message earlier to check in, and thank you for coming on the show tonight. And I feel like I want to get Linda to interview you on one of our shows, maybe on Simple Sense for Small Business, our other YouTube channel where we talk about all the mistakes that people make in small business. So Pamela is a CPA and a business owner, and with an EIDL, and she purchased our blueprint, and she also then had a paid consultation, phone consultation with me. And Pamela, your positive respect and compliments about our guidebook. Be still my beating heart, darling.
yeah, it's been a beast for the last 2 years just to write it because things change. And the good thing is that we're going to continue to update through December 2024. That will be free and included. And once you download, you're in my system. So you will get the link when there are updates for additional intel to download.
And Pamela, who not only has a COVID-19 EIDL, but who has been in business for many decades and has had multiple SBA loans and other types of financing on her businesses, is the best advice. When you have a problem making payments, people get embarrassed. Or, some people they want to listen to the Hot Pocket Bros on Reddit and say, just ignore it, man. They're not coming after you. Oh, okay. But because literally we have a client whose two business partners are Hot Pocket Bros because they're telling him for the restaurant that closed a year ago.
They're not calling us.
The SBA's not calling us.
Pay.
What do we care? We don't have to pay. We don't have personal guarantee. We didn't get a $200,000 loan. Meanwhile, our client has other businesses with seven-figure incomes that he doesn't want those businesses and his credit damaged because his two moron business partners. So you see, contact the SBA. But again, because we know, Pamela, that the SBA can often be a shit show in terms of giving correct information and correct guidance, refer to our guidebook first. That's why we created it. Think of it, as Linda was saying before, it's an investment in your business for the future.
Okay.
Michael, no sense in stressing about something you cannot change. Adapt and persevere. Absolutely, Michael. And Julian, thank you for the support. You can rebuild the credit.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. So EL has a question.
Here we go.
Yes, we are not attorneys and we are not CPAs. We just interact with them on a regular basis for business owners when consulting or advocating for them in some form or fashion.
You want to address this one?
No, I don't actually, because
leave it to me?
I'm going to leave it to you as long as your brains don't splatter all over the
That happened
ceiling.
already twice. Michael and Julian can attest to that. And folks on the replay, please watch where I just totally lose my mind earlier in the show.
It was minute 27.
So EL, the idea, and we know that there are other folks here on YouTube who have been talking about the lawsuits for time immemorial. Again, as a veteran mortgage banker who did government loans for 30 years, and we helped thousands of people during the pandemic, EL, a class action lawsuit against the United States government, I don't think so.
Listen, I think so. if that were something, you can't never say never, right? So if that were ever to happen in our life.
So it has happened. It happened during the pandemic. So as part of the CARES Act, there was the Restaurant Relief Fund program, a grant for restaurants to keep them open, to keep them alive, to keep their business at least viable, even if they couldn't open their doors. And the program was set up in a way and I will say, having submitted quite a few applications in the program for our clients at the time, it was a fantastic experience of submitting that. It was Isabella Caceres Guzman, the administrator's first big job when she was brought in as the new administrator of the SBA, and she rocked it. She brought in a third-party vendor whose software was mind-blowingly awesome. It was a beautiful application process. What happened, though, and this goes to your question, EL, the program had two tranches. There was a priority tranche for underserved communities, which included veterans of the armed forces, so veteran-owned businesses, women, Black citizens, Hispanic, LGBTQ+, what is called historically underserved communities, because the SBA and the government had the statistics of the COVID-19 EIDL program and the PPP program at that point, and the statistics were astoundingly biased against underserved communities. And we know that because of the clients that we assisted. And so what happened was they rolled out the program, and we actually had a few of our clients approved. We had the guy who owns the market here in town, the little country market in our little country town here in New England. We got him approved.
He was a veteran.
He's a veteran of the Persian Gulf War, and we got him approved. A female-owned business, we got her approved, maybe two.
We got several.
Some business owners in Tennessee decided they didn't like this idea of these priority, not priority. So they filed a class action lawsuit, and it shut the program down. The government shut the program down, so many hundreds of thousands of business owners did not receive this valuable assistance. And you know what happened with that lawsuit? It got tossed out of court. Got tossed. So based on history, not just my opinion, EL, based on history, it seems that this idea that's been floating around for quite some time about suing the SBA, suing the government. Look, if you want to do something, EL, contact your senator, contact your Congress people, and let them know that they need to do two things. Number one, they need to reauthorize the SBA, which has not been reauthorized in something like 20 years. Congress reauthorized the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, 2 weeks ago, and they gave them a pile of money to hire more air traffic controllers, to upgrade technologies, to enforce new penalties against airlines for abusing passengers. There was the story of some passengers sitting on a sweltering aircraft for 8 or 9 hours or 12 hours the other day. So the Congress could give the FAA. Why can't the Congress do that for the SBA? Reauthorize the SBA and expand the SBA, especially because I think it was Julian or someone was asking before about microloans and such. You know, we see these horrible scam loans out there, merchant cash advances, ledger loans, inventory loans, you know, receivables, all these factoring loans. And the APRs are like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. It is criminal. Except it's not, because it's commercial lending. It's not consumer. So there's no restrictions. But you know what? If the SBA had a bigger agency with more funding and a more streamlined and more professional staff to underwrite loans, that means banks would make more SBA-backed loans, which means business owners like y'all would not need MCAs and factoring loans and et cetera, et cetera.
All right. And this is another reason why I kind of pontificate about striving to be more proactive. It's hard to not know what we don't know. But what we see are, like, even with MCA into this point, we have, when we were doing just general business loans prior to COVID, all the time, oh my God, I got one of those. Whoa, it was awful. Or I can't even, I'm making less because I've got to pay this MCA first. And the interest rate is so high and they're taking it from my credit swipes, kind of thing. Anyway.
They get their money first. Well, we did a couple of these horrible loans before COVID. In fact, during COVID, because as Linda mentioned before about business owners who failed to prepare, you know, because they don't have conversations with their accountants.
Yeah.
let their accountants run away with the tax return and just get big refunds and write everything off and show zero money or very little money on the bottom line and no profitability. And no reasonable lender is going to lend against a business that shows on its tax returns almost no income.
Right.
So we had to help some business owners get some of this financing. One of them was due to horrible credit. They were opening a restaurant, and it was the only option. And I got them 2 approvals, 2 different companies, and I begged them to call their family. They're an immigrant family. I said, please call your family back home. Call your friends, your friends here in the United States. Call everybody. Try to get the money together from those sources. Don't take these loans. But they took the loans. As it turned out, they opened the restaurant. They paid off the loans very quickly, but they paid a hefty price.
Yeah.
And the second situation was also a restaurant, again, because the business owner did not plan properly and his tax returns didn't show the income. He was opening a new restaurant, and we went to a company that was putting in the furniture, the banquettes and the settees and all that stuff. And we financed the furniture, what's called a fixtures loan, through one of these horrible lenders, and the rate was terrible, the payment was terrible, the terms were terrible, and so I hope, EL, that answers your question about class action lawsuit. In my opinion, it's a non-starter. Suing the government for what? Get your political representatives to do the right thing. All they're talking about in the Congress and the Senate right now is the senators are pushing the SBA to collect on all of the loans, including poor Cindy, who's going through a severe medical issue and who has a $10,000 COVID loan and who could really use forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And instead, these senators, Joni Ernst is one of them, is saying to the SBA, you better collect on Cindy's loan. You better collect, because this is billions of dollars for the government.
Do we? Okay. All right. Okay.
And reauthorize the SBA and expand it. Pamela has some excellent advice for folks. If you get a regular SBA, which is a 7A or a 504, and you're running into trouble, you will have received that loan most likely through a bank, not from the SBA. So you want to contact your bank after the 60-day letter you received and before the file goes to the IRS.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks,
so,
Pamela.
Thank you to everybody with the questions and insights just to, protect yourself and your business. We know we're preaching to the choir here with you're showing up.
Thanks, Julian.
So you're doing the work to know what you don't know and to prepare to be proactive. And we appreciate that very, very much.
Well, I do actually have a couple of other things.
Oh my gosh. Well, you better wrap it up here because I'm.
All right, let's talk about CARES Act, the employee retention credit.
A
couple of things. First of all, you should know it is not too late to apply for the employee retention credit.
Yes.
You have until January of 2024 to apply. Second thing, be very careful who you hire, because there are so many scammers out there and they're submitting bad paperwork to the IRS. So the IRS has an announcement in the last couple of days. One of the qualifying or eligibility features of the employee retention credit is if your business was affected due to supply chain issues. And what the IRS has figured out rather quickly is that these scammers who are doing these applications are coming up with bullshit reasons. And the IRS is denying the employee retention credit request. And it could be something as simple as the supply chain issue happened during this time period over here, but your employee retention credit is for this time period over here, and they don't match. How can you have hardship if it's not the same time period? The other thing is, if you got a PPP loan, you cannot get the employee retention credit during the period of the PPP loan. That's automatically wiped out. So you've got to have your ducks in a row. We have an exceptional company that we refer our clients to who has already proven himself. Yeah. So if you need that referral, you contact us and we'll put you in touch.
And even though we do charge for our blueprint, we do have a ton of free information, and one of them is an ERC download, frequently asked questions, and just to, be in the know before you try to get scammed by somebody that you think you should trust for one reason or another. So that's there. I put the link
Good
in
for
the
you,
comments
Jillian.
for that.
Okay, next.
Okay.
On our last program, we talked all about fraud and forgiveness. And as I
Yes.
just mentioned, when I kind of went off the rails with EL's question about class action lawsuit, when I said contact your political representatives, because all they're talking about is fraud. Mm-hmm. All they're talking about is, in getting the SBA to enforce collections.
They're patting themselves on the back,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
And that's not the help that you all need, okay? But one of the other facts that came out of the SBA Office of Inspector General report that we featured on that show was that they have collected so far $9 billion. They've recaptured, clawed this back from the criminals that they have indicted, the criminals that have been convicted. $9 billion. So, Linda Ray, do you want to ask the question?
Where is it? Where is this money for people who, legitimate businesses, number one, that did not get approved in time before May 6th closing of the program, that got declined for a reconsideration before the program closed on May 6th, 2022. Where is this money? And if they're, where is it?
Because we would love to see the SBA take that $9 billion and reopen the processing of the still hanging in limbo
Applications.
COVID-19 EIDL applications for original applications that were never approved for stupid reasons, bad data entry by the applicant, bad tax transcripts. Or if you all remember, the IRS was massively backed up on tax returns, and the SBA didn't understand this, even though all of us were looking at the news headlines every day saying IRS has backed up 90 million tax returns. But the SBA was sending tax transcript requests and not getting the tax transcript to come back and telling business owners, you lied to us. You never filed your tax return for 2019 and 2020. You never filed it, so you are declined. Flag that file for fraud. Meanwhile, it's just because the IRS hadn't processed the return yet.
Yes.
That's why it came back no record found. That doesn't mean that people didn't apply, didn't file a tax return. So with this $9 billion, SBA, Ms. Guzman, please, why not reopen the COVID-19 EIDL program and take this $9 billion and finish these loans, the original applications, the increased modifications, the reconsiderations for small business owners who are still hanging in limbo.
If they're spending so much time grandstanding about their efforts and ROI, if you watched our live last week.
Oh, the OIG with his ROI.
And even if you didn't watch the live, I have 2 excerpts that go into detail about all the things we showed with the stats and all of that. If you're grandstanding so much about all of this effort and convictions and investigations and you got all this money, number one, where is it? And are you not listening to the people that are asking for help and continued support for small businesses that they're not huge corporations? They're still impacted not only by COVID, but if they're in a natural disaster area, which is the phone call you had yesterday. This guy's business is super successful, but then he got clobbered in California, so I don't know.
Okay, next, Paycheck Protection Program. One of the other features of the Office of Inspector General, the OIG report about fraud, his office thinks that because so many small businesses have not applied for PPP forgiveness, that they are fraudulent applications. What he's not understanding, as per usual, with Washington, D.C. bureaucrats having no concept of the real world, what he's not getting is that a lot of business owners don't know that they can still apply for PPP forgiveness. Yes. 5 years. If you got one of the PPP loans with the 60-month term, if you remember, originally I think it was 24 months. Was it 24 months, the first round? And then they changed it to 60 months, a 5-year loan. It was originally a 2-year loan, and then it became a 5-year loan, which means during the 5-year period of repayment, you can request forgiveness at any time. And just so you know, we offer consulting for a fee on helping people to get PPP forgiveness. And I have so far a 100% approval rate
Yeah.
on PPP forgiveness applications I have submitted.
All right. I don't know
Okay.
why you put this comment as a banner. Nobody's going to be able to, they can't copy and paste, but they can get.
I just bang stuff around over here, like, Julian, like, boom. I just like tapping the screen. LOL, do what day that again? And what, say, I just like smacking the screen and putting stuff up on the screen.
Once you figured out you had control of the.
Listen, I just learned tonight how to figure out how many people are watching the show.
Yeah.
So thanks all for tuning in. We really appreciate you all. And we made a strategic decision over meatball grinders. Here in Connecticut, we call it a grinder. In Massachusetts, it's called a sub. In New York City, it's called a hero. What do they call it in Philadelphia?
Well,
hoagies.
But there's also a wedge. There's wedges.
There's a wedge. That's in
New York.
Westchester.
Well, I grew up with calling it a wedge.
Yes.
But
so over our meatball grinders this afternoon, she had the flatbed version, which is basically just a flat grinder, and I had a grinder. We made a strategic decision. We're going to attempt to do these live shows every 2 weeks. So thank you all for tuning in. Pamela, look forward to speaking to you again soon. John, Julian, Michael, of course, our old pal from the pandemic days.
EL.
EL, thank you for your question.
Did you say John already?
And, if you have questions, tune in and we'll be happy to try to help you out. So, Jason, let's see. SBA like a baby. You have to explain like a baby to them when I was doing it. Yeah. I mean, Jason, I was a mortgage loan officer for 30 years, and I brought that experience to the table when I helped folks like you during the pandemic, and I had to speak to the SBA. Just so you know, I never spoke down to an SBA agent ever, even to the one guy who was like, I'm not talking to you. I said, but it's in the file. No, I'm not going to look for it. It was really nasty. And even then I was respectful and professional, which is the best way to approach it. I remove all emotion from the phone call, and I compliment them and thank them for their service, and then I go right into a specific question. And if they're giving me bullshit, I know when someone's bullshitting me. And again, this is the kind of information we put into our post-closing blueprint, our comprehensive expert guidebook about the program.
If you're just, finding us and hanging out with us, number one, thank you for taking the time and spending your time, your valuable time with us. But also, we'd like to think that we're a little bit generous with giving away free information, even though we have paid services and products. And even on our homepage of auroraconsulting.biz, there's 3 downloads there that are going to be helpful, we hope, we think, on forgiveness facts, fraud facts, forgiveness facts, the EIDL basics, and also there's a sample blueprint so you can kind of see the quality of it and what you can expect of what its contents are. So you can certainly test drive a lot of our content to see how much time and dedication we put into addressing real issues that real people like you are having every day with their business and certain restrictions because they have this loan. So,
and that real professionals like us are working with the SBA every week. Every week, I'm working on some aspect, whether it's a natural disaster loan or COVID-19 EIDL that somebody already received, and answering questions or calling the SBA and interacting with the SBA. So again, we offer a paid 1-hour phone consultation. You can register for that on our website. We also offer natural disaster loan application consulting, following very strictly the terms for a consultant laid out by the SBA and SBA Form 159D. They allow us to charge a fee, and we are compliant with their regulations there. So be careful of scammers on that regard as well. Especially if you apply for a natural disaster loan, you were declined, which chances are pretty good that it's going to be
We must know EL, but I don't know EL by EL. We must know EL.
Well, thank you, EL.
I can't really tell. My eyes are so bad.
Buy this stuff. It changed my life.
I can't tell from the picture. My eyesight is so bad. And
thank you, EL, and Jason and John and Julian. Thank you.
I'm so happy to hear that, EL. And I
your advice just directly helped me get my rent relief from California. Oh,
super.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Aaron.
I have a vague recollection.
And I think I just solved the mystery. I think these
Aaron,
are
did we do
these are emoji prompts.
Did we do a phone call?
Aaron.
I have a vague, and I spoke to thousands of people during the pandemic. Well,
yeah, I manage our database, so I don't. It's not coming to me. I foolishly didn't hire you. That's probably why we're probably. That's why we're scratching our heads with. Like,
so, Aaron, if you could also type in there, "Don't be foolish, buy their guidebook."
Oh,
Aaron, I have a vague recollection of speaking with you, and I remember feeling very badly for the situation you were in. I'm very happy that our advice was able to help you.
Good. I'm really happy. Thank you so much. If you have not written a Google review, I'm going to put it.
Well, that's something else we haven't talked about tonight. So, folks, thank you again for joining us. And again, we're going to try to do these shows every 2 weeks. And again, we're offering consulting services again. We've reopened the fortress of Trevor's office. By the way, I'm Trevor. She's not. My office is open for consultations.
Yeah.
There we go. Aaron says to all of you, don't be like me. Buy it. Buy it all.
Oh,
if anything, it's entertaining. Oh, thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just put the link. It's real easy. Google g.page Aurora Consulting /review.
So,
Thank you,
so we're trying to do the live shows. So please show up with your questions. Please buy our guidebook. Consider hiring us if you want to speak to the SBA and you want a professional on the phone with you with the SBA. I'm available to do that. And the fee is very reasonable because we've tested it out with people. Pamela, notably, one of those folks. Last but not least, if you found our information helpful in any way, or if you just had a good laugh tonight, like Aaron did, could you go to our Google page and write a review? Because that will help paying customers to find us. And when paying customers find us, then we can come here and do free stuff.
Yeah, and we can allot a certain amount of time for, giving away certain free information, whether it's writing a blog or writing a free download or doing these videos and spending time to edit them into shorter excerpts for people who can't watch the whole thing.
Can we talk about our other YouTube channels?
Well, we have no, but not all of them.
No,
they're all connected, but the main
but they're
one,
not connected.
But they're not connected.
But they're all hilarious.
But you can find them through each other. The one that we started 2 years ago that was a passion project was Simple Sense for Small Business, and that was birthed out of mistakes we've made, that we've seen, that you find out too late the things you don't know, what you don't know. And so we have over 100 videos on various topics that are involved when you're running a business. Some things we love to do.
Common sense
stuff.
And really a lot of it is the boring stuff that you don't want to think about.
Well, that's the thing. I've always kind of said, even COVID, there were two things that I said. If this wasn't a time to figure out what you're doing in your business, I don't know what better time there is to take stock and take inventory of the things that
now is the time
you may not be good at. And the other thing I always say is, if it's really boring, you're probably doing something right. Because you can't have drama every day from dramatic learning experiences. It's too much adrenaline going through our bodies.
So that's what we talk about in Simple Sense. And then we have a new channel which is under development called Connecticut Road Trips, where we live in Connecticut, and one of the things that's really awesome about the Nutmeg State, as they call it, is that it's easy to drive around the state, and there's so many wonderful things to experience. So we were kind of famous in our own minds for going around and I'm like, hey, let's just get in the car and get lost. And we would find ourselves in some town here in Connecticut and have a wonderful afternoon and a nice lunch usually, or a nice dinner, and meet some cool people and see some neat things. So we decided to make a YouTube channel about it, Connecticut Road Trips, and we don't really have too many videos up yet because we're building up a portfolio.
We only have 4 shorts because it coincided with us revamping this up.
Thank you, Aaron.
seeing
Thanks, Aaron.
how challenging things started hitting for people in the last 12 months. You know, the business is closed, the businesses haven't recovered.
Well, we did
Payments are due.
an improvised road trip on Sunday afternoon, where the weather was glorious. It was a gorgeous day here in New England, Sunday afternoon, and I started out by saying,
"Thank you,
Julian. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Super sticker."
That paid for the Meatball Heroes today.
Yep.
Thank you, Julian. So I said to Linda Sunday afternoon, I said, you know, where are we going for dinner? And she said, well, why don't we go on a road trip and take some video for our channel? I said, I love it. Let's do that. And then Jason, thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you so much.
And then Linda, you know, so I went back to my office to get myself ready to head out the door, and you know, and all of a sudden she shouts out across the house. This is our house, and it's an open floor plan. She shouts across the house, "Hey, I booked a hotel down by the water, down by this Long Island Sound. How about that?" I was like, "Wow!" So she sent me the link, and it's this beautiful old, like 19th century inn that she booked us for an overnight. So we drove up there. We had a lovely afternoon. The place was gorgeous, right on Long Island Sound, nice little beach.
It's a little bit of an entertaining departure for us. It's a lifestyle travel vlog kind of style, and I have hours of footage I still have to get out for the longer.
But tell them what happened on Monday.
On Monday, we were supposed to go for a 13-mile scenic. So we go Sunday. It's gorgeous. We stay overnight.
Yeah, the objective was there was a 13-mile from that town where the inn was to another town. It's a 13-mile through a scenic road trip. So that was the purpose of our excursion.
It was a deluge. We were rained out for a bit.
The rain was going sideways.
And we were like, oh my gosh, how did we not look at the weather? It was so spontaneous.
And we were the only ones in the inn. The inn had a wedding.
Road, so it worked out.
The inn had a wedding that weekend, and the wedding cleared out. So when Linda called to make a reservation, the innkeeper was like, "Oh, very excited! Oh, nobody else has stayed here," and we were literally the only ones in the inn that night. We went out to dinner. We came back to this empty. Maybe it was haunted. I don't know. It was fun. It was very fun.
There was a wedding there the night before. Anyway,
yeah. So
all right.
It was fun. So Connecticut road trips. You'll see some videos in that. Well, again, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate you all. We love you all. We really do.
We really. That's what we're really excited doing lives again and talking with you and hearing what you're going through and however we can support you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. So we will see you again. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified when we go live again. And if you have a question, we're here for you.
Can I hit my applause button?
Sure. You can applause yourself. There you go.